I've got a bit of an obsession with all things Japanese. Ramen, bullet train, sushi, politeness. Going to Tokyo feels like you're entering the set of Blade Runner, while being in Kyoto is like being preserved in a time capsule 1,000 years old. No culture is perfect, but there's a lot of things the Japanese get right. One in specific, toilets. Now, allow me a moment to indulge in some literal toilet humor if you don't mind. If you've never experienced what a Japanese toilet is, you've never really lived. There's just these key moments in your life: birth of a child, your first home, and using a Japanese toilet. There's just life before and after these watershed moments. Japanese toilets are the epitome of Japanese futurism meets eccentricity. Heat, water, seat adjustment, just all kinds of unnecessary. Now, I haven't been keeping up with Toilet Expo trends for too much now, but I'm sure they've introduced all kinds of new features like Bluetooth, charging station, Uber Eats integration. I mean, has no one asked what ChatGPT means for the toilet industry yet? It's a world filled with features. And, well, sometimes in L&D, I think we've got a bit of Japanese toilet syndrome. We get so distracted by the shiny features of whatever everyone else is using, AI, curation, and we're looking at those all while trying to get our SCORM packages to properly export. It's a lot of FOMO and a lot being told to us that, hey, we should get our own version of a Japanese toilet. And the next thing you know, we've done it. All without thinking that, hey, maybe we need to renovate the bathroom first, let alone the whole house. And the worst part is, once you get that Japanese toilet, things kind of become all about it. I mean, hey, I know if I owned a Japanese toilet, I'd want to make sure it was constantly being used. Gotta justify the amount of time I spend on it. I mean, talk about seat time. What started off as an exciting purchase all just now kind of folds into one giant pile of, well, you see where this is going. A Japanese toilet is a fantastic purchase, but I don't think anyone would ever call it an investment. And it's a good lesson and reminder of the difference between reactionary purchases and strategic investments. Talking strategy in our world is tough. Do we have the right priorities? So many of us feel overwhelmed and under-equipped, and at the same time don't really feel empowered in our position to create impact, which puts a lot of pressure on the strategic decisions we make and the money we put behind them. So how do we make meaningful investments when everything seems to be about our tech and what we need to do with it? Well, allow me a few minutes to convince you that the best L&D investment you can make is not a feature-filled toilet, but a compass. Let's get our compass right, so that on the day when we do decide to get that Japanese toilet, we know how to sort through the crap. Hi, I'm Josh. I'm an enterprise learning leader and strategist with over a decade's experience helping some of the world's leading organizations transform how they view learning. Welcome to Digital Learning Done Right, a place for learning leaders to get the mindset, motivation, and meaningful action to go out there and live their best L&D life. You made it to the last episode of Series 2. Good job. That also means you probably should get back to work at some point, but it's okay. I'm having fun too. Last episode, let's go. As you know, Series 2 has been all about priorities. Do we really know what motivates our people? What's helping us get closer to the business? How are we creating a more human experience? And are we thinking about focus rather than fleeting attention? Really important priorities. And this last episode kind of all builds up to this moment. Because if you want to know what an organization prioritizes, you just need to follow the money. We spend so much time thinking about our technology, our content subscriptions, our authoring tools, our platforms, that when our platform does arrive, it just kind of becomes our strategy. How we implement it, migrate it, leverage it. We don't have a social learning strategy in place, but hey, look at all these social features that are on this platform. Technology will plug into your strategy, but it can't become your strategy. That's why we're here to build a compass, a really lame analog compass but one to base all your future strategic purchases on. Because when you can say with confidence, here's how this purchase potentially fits into our vision, that's how you know you're investing into what matters. Let's talk about 3 pillars of strategy to frame your investments and improve your decision making. Our first pillar is our internal one. We need to invest in a strong point of view on learning, a mature, confident, and solidified one. I know this sounds completely obvious, but I can't tell you how many extremely senior L&D leaders walk around with the confidence of a peacock talking about learning styles. It's an unfortunate statement to make, but we just need an update on our current L&D best practices. We need to get our story right here, because there's a cost attached to doing this ineffectively. It's the little things, like pivoting from one-off events to learning journeys or doing microlearning really well. Are discussion boards effective? Is adding more music to e-learning a good idea? How do we do inclusive design well? We need to build a better brand of learning experience and stop building ineffective ones. Invest in neuroscience, cognitive psychology. Because trust me, the more you understand about the brain, the more you start to question like 80% of the things we do in L&D. Explore best practices from places like marketing, game design, behavioral science, worlds that know how to design for users. These worlds have so much to teach us about change management, behavior change, influence, persuasion, shifting mindsets, retaining concepts. The future of L&D design is in how much we can transpose from these worlds in an effective and swift manner because they've just been doing it longer and better than us for a while. I know this is a strong statement, but if you're not tapping into these worlds, you are wasting your resources. And you decide how big or small the investment is, as long as you are investing in this. Start a book club, have more huddles, hire a consultant to audit what you're doing, or bring in experts to lead workshops, or even better, to co-pilot on your strategy. Because this is an investment. And even more so, make sure to capture the output of what you're doing. Formalize and document an actual point of view. Build internal capability around this. Create champions in your organization. Have decks ready to share within the business on key topics that may encounter resistance. Here's why we pivoted to this. Here's our point of view on that. Show up with tremendous credibility in this space, because we also know this is going to be really helpful for stakeholder management. This is an important investment because a lot of ROI is not just about what you get back, but about the waste you can reduce. And this is an investment in saving your money by knowing what you need to stop doing so that you can focus on what you need to start doing. You need to get your ducks in a row before you start flapping your wings. Did that make sense? Look, bird metaphors, not my key strength. Just get over it. When you start saying things like, we used to think this was the best way to do training, but then we learned, that's how you know you've arrived in the right place. Investing in a confident, mature point of view is just about being ready for the moment. It's about telling your organization that with whatever money you want to give me, we're going to make sure we know how to execute it with the utmost precision. So that's the first pillar, investing in your point of view. Once you've done that, once you've got your ducks in a row and you're ready to flap your wings, yeah, we're still sticking with that metaphor, the next pillar is to invest in understanding what makes your organization unique. Because your people are very unique, and what your people need from their L&D department is unique too. I've worked with a lot of companies, from California tech to German banks, and while many share similar learning challenges, what makes their learning cultures unique is all very different from each other. Remember the elephant and the rider from episode 1? Well, think of your organization's learning culture as one big elephant. You can give it all sorts of rational things to the rider. Take this training, sign up for this webinar. But understanding your organization's culture is understanding its elephant and how it ticks. So before you launch the giant L&D activities machine, really stop and understand. Understand what your people need for their careers to help them do their job better. Do they need less intervention, more intervention? How about the uniqueness of their performance support? Or what gets them motivated? Understand what you need to do to facilitate environments where learning can happen, and training interventions are the exception, not the rule. This is so critical because it allows us to organically develop our learning strategy around our people rather than trying to impose an artificial monolithic construct over it. You want to see what exists so that you can work with it, not against it. That's why there's a lot of buyer's remorse around, well, why aren't people accessing the 5,000 courses that I've given them? Well, it's because you haven't taken the time to really understand the uniqueness of your organization. Culture takes care of so much when leading a learning strategy. It's a question of how hard you need to work. And it's a focus on facilitation, motivation, access, rather than activity or consumption. But that starts with a really deep listening. We need to build a better pipeline for how we listen to our organization. Invest in a process of getting richer data inputs from your people so that you know where to go next. I know I'm a broken record here, but it really is about empathy. A good example, how do employees view the transition to skills? Imagine an employee and a manager sitting down and talking about a potential new project. They've got most of the skills and it's a role aligned with where they want to go with their career, but it might require developing a few skills along the way. It's a win-win for both the business and the employee. But how do you fill that skills gap? This is a critical learning moment. Understand this moment because this is where real learning happens, not in your LMS. Invest in the context of your people, looking at your org, looking at their careers, and find the sweet spot for where L&D can deliver the most value. Invest in understanding what makes your organization unique. It'll help you reframe a lot of the challenges you may have, or even the ones you may think you have. All right, so invest in a stronger point of view, invest in understanding the uniqueness of your organization. This is how you build your compass. And the last piece is the one that will keep your compass grounded. Invest in making your organization more impact focused, in process. Or another way to put it, you simply have an answer to, what is even the point of all this spending? We don't have a direct pipeline to impact. We need to invest in this pipeline. This can look like a lot of different things. Paving better channels to the rest of the business. See my episode on building friends if you haven't done so yet. A formal introduction of impact methodology, data strategy, metric design. Oh, that's a good one. More cross-functional partnership across the organization. This is the internal plumbing that no one wants to talk about. Because why talk about plumbing when you can talk about a Japanese toilet? Remember, your learning platform doesn't magically arrive with a data strategy or how to link your metrics to what's on it. You've got to do that. Technology can actually be really effective in terms of data collection as long as you tell it what to collect. But there needs to be some plumbing done first. Make a New Year's resolution to yourself, or better yet, a budget resolution to yourself. I will no longer throw stuff out into the ether and hope that someone takes it and move on and not be held accountable for that. If it can't be measured, if it can't be quantified in some way that leads to moving the needle, scrap it. You want to build strong roots across your organization that constantly report back what's working. This is the biggest investment you can make because you're investing in the ROI of ROI. Be the organization that takes measurement seriously, impact seriously. And you also magically see with how much more clarity you start to view your technology and how you need to leverage it, optimize it, or ditch it. Invest in the ROI of ROI. It's hard work. It's not glamorous. It's not as sexy as saying we need to figure out what to do with AI this year. But it's the way you future-proof every single investment that you make and a way to make your vendors and even your internal partners more accountable. You do this, you understand your organization, you understand what makes it unique, you solidify your point of view. Well, that's a pretty fine-looking compass you've got there. This is how you become an intelligent L&D investor. What's the difference between a purchase and an investment in L&D? Well, it's the difference between a Japanese toilet and a compass. A compass. It's old school, no fancy features, but it will sure as hell point you to where you need to go every single time. We make enough purchases in L&D. It's time we start making more investments. We've got to stop letting technology dominate our strategic conversations, because once the technology arrives, it becomes your strategy. Invest in your compass, in the 3 pillars you need to get right. Because once you do, you'll be able to confidently say, this is what our people need from us. This is what the business needs from us. We know we've done the hard wiring. And now we're ready to pair that with a confident point of view on learning that no matter what our next investment is, it's vetted by our rigorous approach to produce the best learning experiences we can. This is what strategy is all about. It's not about seat times, learning hours, and course subscriptions. It's about understanding your organization and your people and what they need from you to succeed, and crafting the right environment for that to happen. Technology will only propel the status quo, and you need to ask yourself, is that really what we want to do? Break down your status quo by building a new vision, 1 pillar at a time. But do it with a compass. Arigatou gozaimasu. That's all for today, and that's a wrap for Series 2. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you've got ideas for Series 3, let me know. Want to collaborate? Need help with your team? Like this brand of edutainment and want to selfishly bring some of it within your org? Let's chat. And as always, the best way to support this show is to just tell as many people as possible about it. Make your kids listen to it, your cat, your grandparents. Tell your neighbor. Whether you like them or not, this show works both ways. Come find me on LinkedIn. Go to digitallearningdoneright.com. We'll see you next time.